There was some piece in the Free Press, some powerful piece, which you should all be aware of. Why my generation hates Jews. My peers have been indoctrinated. She's a 21-year-old, I think, at Stanford. You're familiar with this piece? No, Julia Steinberg. We have to have her on. I heard great things about her, and her article is demonstrative of that fact. My peers have been indoctrinated to believe that Jews are oppressors, so even our mass slaughter is seen as justifiable revenge. I'm 21 years old and Jewish. Apparently 48% of my peers want people like me dead. As of October 23rd, 64% of 18 to 24-year-olds think what happened on October 7th was a terrorist attack. 77% of us think, quote, it's true that Hamas terrorists killed 1,200 Israeli civilians by shooting them, raping and beheading people, including whole families, kids, and babies. But when asked, in this conflict, do you side more with Israel or Hamas? 48% said Hamas. 48% of America's 18 to 24-year-olds. The left has done a good job. The left has been effective in shattering the ability to think morally in a generation of young Americans. Side with Hamas? Half? It is a poll. It is one I am familiar with. Let's see what, who put this out? Yes, a Harvard CAPS Harris poll, Center for American Political Studies. The Harris poll. Wow. Half of America's 18 to 24-year-olds side with Hamas? Do you believe that?
No.
You don't believe it. What do you believe?
I don't think they side with Hamas.
They may be neutral. They're both plague on both their houses. Well, even that's virtually as bad.
No, it's not.
Well, it is in the sense.
No, siding with Hamas.
Yeah, you're right. Siding with Hamas. Okay. Well, I don't know the answer to that question. Does one believe a poll? The polls have been notoriously inactive. All right, well, we have to find how the question was praised. They have a lot of questions here about optimism, about their own life. Biden's approval rating remains just above 40%, as it has been for the last year, which proves there is no damage he can do to the country, which would hurt that. GOP approval remains at about 50%. Democratic Party approval, also underwater. Overall congressional approval ticked down to 30%. Here's an interesting part of this poll. Then I'll get to the Middle East. RFK Jr., Netanyahu, Haley, and Musk have highest net favorability. Isn't that fascinating? Donald Trump is the most favorable, but also the one of the most unfavorable. Hillary Clinton is higher in the unfavorable. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., favorable 49%, unfavorable 30%. Joe Biden, favorable 45%, unfavorable 49%. Kamala Harris, favorable 44%, unfavorable 47%, and so on. I'm only mentioning these things to give credibility to this poll. It doesn't seem to be Republican or Democrat in its orientation. Most voters view Israel favorably, just behind the U.S. military and police. See? So that's That's a good thing to read. That's right. U.S. military is number one, 80%. Police, 67% to 22. Isn't that something? And then Israel, 59-21. But that includes all voters, including those above 25. Anyway, I'm going to continue with her piece. I am not surprised. In high school, my homeroom had an exercise where we made a T-chart dividing various ethnicities, religions, and other identities into the categories of oppressor and oppressed. Isn't that fascinating? The indoctrination? By the way, all the anti-PragerU columns, nearly all, cite me as having said, yes, we bring doctrines to children, but tell me what doctrines are wrong. So in that sense, we indoctrinate. There is no education that doesn't indoctrinate. If teaching kids that they should treat their fellow human being decently, isn't that indoctrination? So isn't the issue in life, it's like saying Dennis Prager is pro-killing. Yes, I am. When you're killing a violent intruder in your home who is about to murder or attempt to murder a member of your household, killing would be right. Killing is right in a just war. So saying Dennis Prager is for killing is dishonest. You have to tell what doctrines, in the case of my pro-indoctrination comment, I'm for. Women, oppressed. Straight people, oppressor. Black people, oppressed. This was on a you know what a T-chart is? Okay. Then we reached the Jew category, and we paused. This being a high school in Los Angeles, many of my classmates were Jewish. I recall we skipped it altogether, but the T-chart stayed on the whiteboard. If there were fewer Jews in that room, I'm confident that Jews would have gone squarely in the oppressor column. Social justice theory became part of everything. My senior English class was not about great literature, but about readings in critical theory, mostly about race and gender. Isn't that astonishing? I mean, I take that back. It's not astonishing at all. Isn't it depressing? She didn't learn about great literature. I had a non-academic weekly homeroom class in which we learned that every white person is a racist and all men are evil. It took me a long time to shake off a hatred of men. It wasn't socially acceptable to disagree, and no one really tried. My high school got a dean of gender studies and feminism. You hear that? How much of the education money now goes to such positions? Deans of gender theory, gender studies, and feminism. At the time, one of her roles, that's fascinating, it was a woman, shocking, to help seniors write their college applications. In answer to the question, what is the most significant challenge society faces today? I wrote, it was identity politics. She gave me a note saying that meant I was rejecting the advances of the civil rights movement. I changed it. Did you get that? Did you get that, folks? She's against identity politics, and therefore she is opposed to the advances of the civil rights movement. So they're taught, at least in her high school, and I assume in vast numbers of them, that the civil rights movement was about affirming racial identity. I understood the civil rights movement as saying your racial identity shouldn't matter. Your character identity, your individual identity, that's what mattered. Well, if Hamas are liberators, then racial identity is a healthy thing.